Former US President Donald Trump will return to the spotlight today when he stages a campaign-style rally in Iowa. The rally comes as Trump stays quiet on a possible second run for the presidency in 2024. Fresh polling shows Trump is more popular in the state of Iowa since he left the White House. 53% of people from Iowa view Trump favourably, with 91% of Republicans in the state supporting the former president. And with that, we are joined by Peter Mathews, Professor of Political Science at Cypress College in Los Angeles. Well, he hasn't really gone away, but he's back in quite a big way here, Peter.
He hasn't gone away. He certainly is back right now because people, he's got millions of followers still who support him. And that's the key, is someone as popular as that with millions of people has a good chance of winning the primary election if he runs for president in 2024. He'll be the one to be the nominee, and that's going to be something to see, because then it'll be a rerun of 2020 again. And his followers are enthusiastic about it, and the Democrats are loathing and worrying about it. But if as long as he doesn't deny he's going to run, no one else can even run. He's taking the oxygen out of the room. No other Republican can even consider putting themselves forth.
Meanwhile, there's the subtext, the subplot. We had the story yesterday about his hotels and dodgy foreign investment and everything else going on in his private world.
Yes, and that's a big problem, because that's the conflict between public interest, pursuing it as a leader, the public interest, versus pursuing your own private interests, having side deals going on and things like that. And the founders knew about this when they brought in the emoluments clause to prevent any kind of interaction with foreign donors or foreign capital, people who can make money off of that, foreign ventures who are in power and government. This is an age-old problem that Plato talked about, that those people in power should be pursuing the public interest all the way and not be distracted by their own private interests. And we have this problem still with us today with money in American politics, big money, private money influencing it in so many ways.
Well, it looks like he's trying to prime himself up for another challenge. How do you think Joe Biden is going at the moment?
Well, Joe Biden's poll numbers have dipped down, of course, because of all the different problems, especially with COVID. But he's also been blocked under the infrastructure bill and the budget reconciliation bill, which could bring in almost $4 trillion for spending on what American people want. These bills together, the Biden Build Back Better plan package, is supported by over 70% of the American people. Even a significant number of Republicans support it. Things like helping the elderly stay at home and have home care. That's supported by 67% or more than Americans. And you have other things to build back the schools, the K through 12 systems, to give tuition-free community college to students the first 2 years of college. All these are supported by numbers that are staggeringly high, and yet the Democrats have not delivered because of Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, the two senators, who are mainly taking a lot of money from corporate special interests. In the case of Sinema, it's the pharmaceutical companies and the medical industry companies. And in the case of Manchin, it's the coal companies, in which he made $4.5 trillion in profit himself as a family business. So this money in politics, once again, is holding the Democrats back from realizing what they could realize, which American people want, which is making them unpopular once again for not delivering.
Facebook has certainly made some headlines over the past 18 months. And again, this week, drama, including the whole system going down earlier in the week worldwide. I think everyone picked up their phones and the Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram had stopped.
Yeah, well, Facebook has been under scrutiny, especially with the testimony of Frances Haugen, who was a former employee, who said that Facebook knew, with all the data gathering they did, that many of the algorithms they've actually brought into play to bring in more audience is hurting people, especially our young people, teenagers who are suffering from depression when they go on Instagram and they have problems with, especially young girls who feel that they're shamed with their bodies. And this is creating mental problems, mental health problems. And Facebook knew these things, but they kept it in place in order to generate more audience. They kept it, and they even tweaked the algorithms to even bring in more audience, to bring in even more controversy by pulling in your own relatives and friends' comments. As long as you're interacting with them, put those in front of you in the posts that you see. And this is a real manipulation, as advertisers know how to do very well. But Facebook is doing it at a multi-billion-dollar level, and that's a real problem because it's influencing billions of people in the world and hurting American young people especially.
Yeah, and social media, Peter, you touch on it there, has been one of the drivers of misinformation and all the conspiracy theories, which are wrong, but because we've seen every other, formal body say that the vaccines that we have, the Pfizer, the Moderna, the AstraZeneca, are safe and are effective, but it has a very detrimental effect, as does people like NBA players coming out and taking a stand against vaccines.
Yes, both of them certainly do. And the reach, of course, is very wide in both cases. And when you allow on social media all these kind of posts, disinformation, misinformation, outright lies about the vaccines and about how good mask wearing can actually reduce the virus, all these things are having a major impact, Tim. In our schools, many kids' parents are refusing to let them wear masks. Many teachers, even some teachers, are refusing to be vaccinated. Most of them are, but other people are refusing to be vaccinated when this can actually save the country from this terrible pandemic. And it's due to social media misinformation and also the role models and the celebrities like NBA players, some of whom are making very public showing of them refusing vaccinations. Very, very dangerous for the country. And I wish they would just change their ways, both systems. Otherwise, we're going to have a real suffering here continue.
In your role as a teacher, as a mentor, as an academic, how important is it for everybody to search out information? Like when you go to buy a car, you find out what all the elements are of that particular car. If you go to a restaurant, you want to find out if it's any good. I just find it amazing that lots of people aren't actually doing their own investigation, rather allowing information just to hit their desk or their phone or their computer.
It's very detrimental when that happens, and it's been happening over and over. But it's partly a failure of our education system. In K through 12, we should be teaching people critical thinking skills, how to research and how to get several sources of information to compare them and to critically analyze them, and then to decide which sources are most accurate, and also get your own information based on your real life experiences, combined with science and with reason. And this kind of thinking and teaching has not been prevalent in our high schools, especially in recent years, our public high schools, where a lot of propaganda is put out in one direction. I think in college, especially when I'm teaching college, I make sure that's a central component of my teaching ability is to show the students how to find the right sources, how to question authority, how to question the sources, and then go out and find the facts that'll actually back up the proper decision making on their part. That is a very important part of education, Tim, as you know.
Yeah, it's a great tip for young people, particularly to start their life, because it is liberating when you are prepared to go out and find out as much information from the right sources. That's the one. Peter, it's always good to have a chat. We'll catch up with you next weekend.
You bet. Thank you, Tim. Take care.
Peter Mathews.